Good afternoon. Thanks for coming. My name is Sarah Riff. I'm the Outreach Coordinator and Undergrad Advisor for the Latin American, Caribbean, and Iberian Studies program. And I'm so excited to see a nice full room, and it's a great kickoff to our Lunchtime lecture series for the fall, and lots of new faces. So just a couple quick announcements. Over at the corner there, at the end of the table, we have well, of course, there's snacks, coffee and tea underway in the back. And then on this table, we have a sign-in sheet. If you're not on our listserv and you're interested in being on it, we do send out a weekly email newsletter of all the events that we have coming up and other things happening on campus or around Madison that maybe aren't even our events but have to do with the region. We also have handouts, a list of all of our lunchtime lectures for the semester up to right now. Literally though, right before this lecture, my speaker for next week cannot come, so there you do see on there's a speaker supposedly coming from Nicaragua next week, but he's actually not coming. So I didn't have time to scratch canceled on all those, so that's not happening. Also, we are pleased to help spread the word about an undergrad trip to Cuba, and Professor Dunham is here, and he leads that trip. I brought some of the handouts there if there's any undergrads in the room or anybody that works with undergrads who might be interested in going abroad to Cuba. There's handouts about that. And one more quick thing, LACES is co-sponsoring the Dane County chapter of the United Nations annual luncheon. I'm on the board of directors, and so I'm going to give a little shameless plug. In October for World UN Day, we're sponsoring a luncheon at Monona Terrace, and John Lang, who is an ambassador and a UW alum, he's coming to give the keynote address on sustainability and global health. So there's handouts about that too, and I will turn it over to Professor Henry Jewell to introduce our speaker. So thanks for coming today.
Okay. Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes. Bienvenido.
Gracias. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce to you Tomas Fernandez Robaina, de Havana Vieja, but he's very old.
I
am 75 years old. So it's a pleasure to welcome him here. It's been a long time since I've seen him, maybe about 25 years. Even though he comes back and forth between the United States and Cuba often, this is a great opportunity for us to reconnect. Tomas is head librarian at the National Library in Havana, in Cuba. He has for 52 years. 52, that's what I said, 52. 52 years contributed with his research and his publications on the formation of Cuban culture, and more specifically, the presence and the contributions of African culture and African people to the formation of Cuban identity. A topic which doesn't receive much attention in Cuba, and is a result of the racial discrimination, the racism in Cuba that Tomas has been trying to illuminate and bring to light for a long time. So while we deal with those very same issues in this country with difficulty, know that it's happening in other places as well. Tomas is going to talk to you about the contemporary situation in Cuba, and then I think he'll speak for about 20-25 minutes.
Yes, because I want that people debate and ask me a lot of questions.
Okay. And to speak less, Tomas, to speak less is a big challenge. Because he'll have lots of things to respond to you. But that's good, that's good. I think we speak for about 20, and then we have a good chance for discussion, comment, and back and forth debate about these very important issues. Let's give Robaina a warm welcome. Come here, Tomas. He would prefer if you're closer to the microphone.
How we can change?
I'll do it for you.
Okay. Well, in fact, for me, always to begin, despite the fact of my experience of lecturing in many places and being professor at the University of Havana, every time that I have to give a new conference, I feel a little, nervous because I don't know the audience. And for me, as he said, to begin is hard, but once to begin, please try to stop me. Because well, I am talking about Solares. I am not going to talk about Solares. What I am going to talk is because the Solares was the place where the black Cuban population, the majority, used to live and still live. Of course, the difference between the Solares of when I was a young boy and my country is quite different. But the essence, the environment, or how we call the ambiente, the guaperia, ambiente of all those things, however, that is kept. That cannot be erased from our society. So this man wrote a wonderful book in the 50s where I showed in that moment the 100% of the people that used to live according to the number of Solares that he investigated, the 94% of the population that live in the Solares were black people. Then, and this is the book, and this is, he's a very outstanding writer. This book was published recently in Cuba. Pass. Again, please. Okay. So this is what the man, the father of the writer. He was a veteran of the Independence War. You say, Juan Chayu Sabal, Commander-in-Chief of the Army, very well known by the name the Fire Captain or Candela, Capitan Candela. Well, I guess that you know more of the Spanish, so no. Okay, next.
Okay. I'm just asking for the lights to be changed. There should be light at the back of the room and dark in the front so we can see the images here.
So
somebody
here
change it, please.
Is a picture of the epoch before 1959.
Gracias.
So, and you see, this is what we call a patio, and you see the ladies, the women, watching the clothes in that way, and the children running around. Go ahead. These are articles that were analyzing the Solares in Cuba, and one of them used to say that the Solares was something that was disappearing. I don't know how, but they say that was disappearing. Okay, continue, slide, please. And these are all the examples of this approach. But why I want this pasando, because I am going to talk to you more about something. Why blacks, the majority, used to live in this place? And when we begin to think about that, we have to remember that we come from a slavery society. And the Africans and the descendants, when in that period, there were no men and women. They were tools, because the Africans were brought to America to work as working tools, not as human beings. Remember that. And we were colonized by the European countries. So we were educated in an Eurocentric point of view. We were taught to be European, despite that I could be black or Indian or whatever color you could think that I have. And that is very important, because if we don't understand that, we cannot begin to fight properly against all this heritage, awful heritage of discrimination. And in my country, we are not fighting only against black discrimination. We are fighting against all kinds of discrimination. Women, sex orientation, religiosity, and many others that there are many, as you can know, because sometimes people are too fat and they are discriminated, or people are too short and that they are discriminated to get some work or something like that. So we are fighting for trying to better my society. I can say that since I was 17 years old when the revolution took power, what does it mean for me? That I have my mind completely vision. And as a young, that sought to contribute to better my society, I did all what the Cuban Revolution did in order to better our society. And in fact, we had advanced a lot. Because for instance, that I be now here in this university speaking about that issue that was taboo in Cuba for many years, that means that there is a change. That is something very, very important to see the change. And we have advanced, yes, we have advanced in all levels. But as all social progress, the advancing cannot be in equal measure in all the levels. And when we speak about black people, we have something that we have to understand. Before 1959, there were a lot of black Cuban associations, societies. And there was a black movement against black discrimination. But it was not very outstanding, it was not very visible. When the revolution took power, the revolution wasn't made for all the Cubans. And that is one of the problems that we have faced. That when we say all Cubans, we include the black people. And when you see at the beginning of the Cuban Revolution, you will realize it, because I was one of those who believed that the black discrimination had disappeared in Cuba. Why? Because it's very simple. Blacks were not seen working in banks, were not seen working in many places where before no one black could have got a job. At the same time, despite the Cuba, there was a race country like the United States, where the black have to go to the back of the buses and there were benches for blacks, etc. However, we were a Cuban country where Martí said that to be Cuban was more than to be black, than to be a mulatto, than to be a white. However, how is it possible that in a country where this thought was kept from everyone, there were parts in many cities of the country where blacks have to walk from one side and white on the other? What is the meaning of that? Because, and that is the consequences of the Eurocentric education. Because not only against, not only among the white people, but among the black. There were many black people that, because of this way of being educated, they thought that they were inferior. And they thought so many things. And something that we are fighting now again to change. Because I think that it's possible to change. And what is happening now? Well, I belong to the ARAC, Articulación Regional Afro-Caribeña, Afro-Latinoamericana y Caribeña, that we try to show in Cuba that what's happening in Cuba is happening in many Latin American countries. Because in all the Latin American countries where there are blacks and whites, we are seeing the same process, the same fight. Because it is not something particular of Cuba. It's something that if people in Venezuela, in Colombia, in Colombia, you have that blacks have been considered minority. But the fact is that laws, how the laws are working for better the condition of the black people, or the Chocó, or the Cuenca. So that is all the question. And in Brazil, because Brazil, that was too sold like a race democracy. But please, I have been in Brazil, and the racism is incredible. It's like in the United States now. In the United States, legally, there is no discrimination against the black. But please, what happened in their daily life? And that is what is happening, and that is why we have to fight against all those things. And in Cuba, we have begun to do this. This is a fight that began with the Maroons, and that will continue during all the Republic. It's the fact of the power of the different governments that try not to pay attention to the needs of, in that moment, the third part of the Cuban population. Now, I think that Cuba, the 50% more are black, or like me, because I am in Cuba. Here, I don't know, I am Latino. But in Cuba, I pass as a white Cuban, because in Cuba, I am considered the same as a white, despite the fact that I consider myself a mestizo. But why some people make a lot of criticism, because they say that you consider black? Because the problem is that I am not considered black, because when I look at the mirror, I see that I am not black. But if my father is black, if I say that I am white, I deny my father. If I say that I am black, I deny my mother. So I am mestizo. But this is the fight of the mestizo. No, it is the fight of the black people, because they have been so discriminated, and in many of our countries, to be mestizo is less to be black. So, and I am involved in those. In this moment, I am more social activist in the black Cuban movement than as a scholar. Sometimes I am not invited, because they say that what I say is no academic speech. Excuse me, if you get the same feeling that you say first. But I think because the academy, we produce knowledge, because all the students that are doing the PhD are producing knowledge, very important knowledge that can contribute to the level of the society. But what the academy do in order to let know the real people that need to know that knowledge? Because that knowledge is inside, only in the university. No, we have to go to the communities, we have to go to the jail, we have to go to the school, and to say what they have to learn. Because we continue with the Eurocentric education. And why we did, why we kill the Eurocentric education, what to do? What to do? Well, that is my first part. So now you have to ask me. I have many things more to say, but as you say, I am 75. I have problems with blood pressure, and when I speak, I like it so much because I do what I like. I enjoy. So my life in this moment is this: sharing my ideas and to show that in Cuba there is a movement of many black organizations like the ARAC that I mentioned you, also there is the Cofradía de la Negritud that I am member of these two, and there is other that is very, we are not official up to now organization. ARAC is more or less semi-official. Cofradía de la Negritud is not official. La Comisión de Aponte is other group that is really very, very official. And there is other, that is the CEO or something like that, that belongs to a party that is against the Cuban Revolution. We agree in the point that they fight against black discrimination. I disagree with them on the topic of saying that the Cuban Revolution is the cause